have coming to you now Sister Nimat, and she's going to be speaking to us about Mr. Marcus Garvey.
And my heart is racing, but the information is so good. I really enjoy myself, all the presenters. And the voice that I bring to you this evening is a voice from the past, Marcus Garvey. So let's set the stage. Imagine you and your family right now as poor. Let's shift the frame of the audience. You are very poor. You are ignorant. You are stupid. You are easily taken advantage of. You are a victim, and you're a footstool. You don't have a car outside. In your home, maybe a dirt floor, maybe one room for you and your family. There's no food in the refrigerator. You're struggling, and you're treated badly by others in the human race. Then imagine your whole neighborhood, your community, all black folks in the same way. Let's go back in time, ignoring all present-day ideas and thoughts. Forget about your home, your bank account, your clothes, your food, your job, and see yourself in a time of need. A dark time with few lights, few stars, few voices leading our community. And as conditions, societal conditions always, by the laws of these conditions, are established, they begin to produce certain kinds of spirits. Spirits that are indicative of the time, of the conditions, the wants, the needs, and the desires. We hear voices from amongst us speaking to us, guiding us. Not prophets, as we may think, but life's pearls, created by the salty conditions of the environment, pearls of our society made from grains of sands. One such pearl, Marcus Garvey. I will be reading, but in his voice. This book was written by him. From early youth, I discovered that there was prejudice against me because of my color. A prejudice that was extended to other members of my race. This annoyed me and helped to inspire me to create sentiments that would act favorably to the black man. Doesn't that sound a lot like Elijah Muhammad? It was with this kind of inspiration that I returned from my trip to Europe to Jamaica in 1914, where I organized the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Community League. When I organized this movement in Jamaica, it was treated with contempt and scorn by a large number of the highly colored and successful people. In Jamaica, the colored and successful black people regarded themselves as white. However, I arrived in America in the spring of 1916, after which I started to study the sociological, economical, and political status of the Negro of America. This took me through 38 states. It was after my return from these trips to New York that I founded in New York, the New York division of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Now, we're all familiar with Marcus Garvey and the Black Star Line. The Black Star Line Steamship Corporation that I organized in 1919 under a charter from the state of Delaware was the great attraction that brought to the Universal Negro Improvement Association millions of supporters from Central America, South America, Africa, and the West Indies. The idea became immediately popular, that of having ships. The Negroes of the West Indies, Central America, and Africa could better appreciate the scheme of steamships than the Negroes of America. And so at that time, with very little persuasion, they subscribed the major portion of the money and purchased the first ship of the Black Star Line. Most of this money came from Cuba, Panama, Costa Rica, and from among the British West Indian Negroes laboring in those countries. It was not until the first ship, the SS Yarmouth, afterwards Crescent Frederick Douglass, was launched in New York, that the American Negroes got to know what it was all about and subscribed speedily their quota to help with the purchase of the ship. Marcus Garvey goes on to say in his writings, the important note is that all that we have heard this evening are some of the same things that he said during that time, during the flashback that I asked you to envision. Now imagine being ignorant, being deprived, and having someone stand before you speaking words like that, speaking that kind of language. You can understand historically why so many people were inspired by Marcus Garvey with the wisdom and the insights that he brought. Marcus Garvey was a well-rounded man, well-traveled, well-informed. He obviously enjoyed the use of the pen. He, in its usage, wrote short stories, he wrote similes, he wrote narratives, and he wrote documents to instruct and to guide. Listen to this simile. He said, "They are for the thoughtful." This is a white boy and a black boy. The white boy says, "Say, Blackie, who made you so black?" The black boy said, "Well, Whitey, my father said he was sleeping in the sun when your father threw dust into his face." The white boy said, "Then what was your father doing sleeping?" The black boy said, "He thought there were other honest men in the world, and so he took a nap." The white boy said, What do you mean by that?" The black boy said, "I mean, it is not so much my color you object to as my conditions. And my conditions is due to the fact that somebody stole my father's heritage while he had his nap." The end. But you know, that's the end of it. But look where his mind was in that time. Here's another one, the last one, for the similes for the thoughtful. A black bum and a white pedestrian. This is the language that Marcus used. The black bum interrogating a white pedestrian. "Say, boss, how is it you have so much and I have nothing?" The white pedestrian said, "Because I have been working while you've been sleeping." The black bum said, "But don't you sleep too?" The white pedestrian said, "Yes, I sleep, but on a normal stomach." The black bum said, "What do you mean by that?" The white pedestrian said, "I mean, there's a difference between both of us." The black bum said, "What kind of difference is it?" The white pedestrian said, "While I sleep on a normal stomach, you sleep on an abnormal one. That is to say, you eat too much, which makes you sleep longer and dream more than I do." The black bum said, "So you would interfere with my eats, mister?" The white pedestrian said, "If you did not want me to interfere with your eats, why did you interfere with me? The trouble with fellows like you is you eat too much, you sleep too long, and you dream all the time." The black bum said, "All right, boss, you had all that you had to say, so let me have a quarter for another meal." And the white pedestrian said, "Here it is, but you must realize that you are keeping me where I am while you're holding yourself back where you are." Goes back to what Brother Naeem said about us not wanting to come together. Marcus Garvey wrote that in the early 19th century. Thoughts and several other ones for others to reflect on. But not only that, his poems were not of the delicate petal drops of dew, but descriptions of life experience so true. Segments from one poem, long and detailed. No time to read by glimpses from this poem, but glimpses from this poem you will see the tragedy of white injustice. The tragedy of white injustice. Lying and stealing is the white man's game. For rights of God nor man has he no shame. A practice of his throughout the whole world. At all great thunderbolts he has hurled. He has stolen everywhere, land and sea. A buccaneer and pirate he must be, killing all as he roams from place to place, leaving disease, mongrel, moral disgrace. The common thief now steals a crust of bread. The law comes down from his hungry head. The haughty land robber steals condiments. with men, oil, gold, rubber, and all content. The first you say is a hopeless convict, while the latter escapes the law by trick. That grave, one-sided justice will not do. The poor call for consideration too. The rich white man starts the unholy war. Then from the line of action, he keeps far. He pushes to the front sons of the poor, and then to do battle die suffer galore. As the guns rage, liberty looms they raise, and in glorious tones sing freedom praise. This is the method to gain more than wealth. Then after victory, they practice great stealth. Capitalists buy up all banks save to advertise and hold the leading place, for to influence public opinion and over chief editors show dominion. The average man is not wise to the scheme. He, the reformer, must now redeem. This isn't a smooth or very easy job. For you, of your honor and name, they rob. The bankers employ men to shoot and kill. When we interfere with their august will, they take the savings of deaf, dumb, and poor, gamble with it here and on foreign shores. In oil, gold, rum, rubber, they speculate, then bring their foreign troubles upon the state. Friends in government, they control at will. War they make for others, our sons to kill. You see, Marcus Garvey, so long ago, describing similar situations. Let's listen more earnestly as time draws near, and continue to listen with both your ears, as what we say becomes our oath, and honoring that can bring great trust. Marcus, a man of powerful speech, took pride in both word and deed. So a signing a letter of oath indicates a person's worth. Marcus Garvey had an institution, and in that institution, the individual had to sign a letter, similar to the letters you all signed in the first resurrection. It was called the Oath of the School of African Philosophy. And at the bottom portion of the letter it says, I shall always use my energy and ability to advance the interests of the United Negro Improvement Association, and shall never be in rebellion against it. And to all this I swear my honor and sacred trust, and should I fail this oath, may the just reward be meted out to me. So help me God. And so we see that in this movement, in this dedication to what was happening, they were willing to give an oath. As some of you have given an oath under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Lessons of life. That letter was a letter, that oath given, that preceded receiving 20 lessons. Lessons of life. Didn't you all have some lessons too? Yeah. What were they called? The lessons? You can see Elijah Muhammad all in here. So there were 20 lessons. You signed that oath and you received these lessons. I'm wrapping up and concluding now. These were guidance for the deprived. Remember, there was no logic, no rebuttal. There's no logic or no rebuttal from you when I read this. This is in the voice of Marcus Garvey. And remember, when people heard this, the guidance, the insights, it was more than they had heard in a long time. This is lesson 10, it was on economy. There are several kinds of economy, but this subject is specifically dealing with financial economy. Economy is based upon good and sane judgment. The practice of it is that you must always be on the safe side of your bargainings and your dealings, never to exhaust yourself, but to have a reserve. There should be always something left over which you may fall on in the time of need. As far as money is concerned, which is the prop of life, in that it pays for all necessities and offers the security for all opportunities. One should never in his earnings of it spend at the same time all his earnings. That is bad business. If you spend all you earn, you are keeping on the edge of bankruptcy all the time. If you spend more than you earn, you are not only a fool, but you are a very dishonest person. And you are bound to suffer without any other chance. Make it always a policy, therefore, to save out of your earnings, caring not how small it is. Never engage yourself in living luxuriously when you can only live ordinarily. Ultimately, you are bound to fail and be the laughing stock of your friends in the community by not being able to keep up your luxurious standards of living on a limited purse. Never buy anything for more money than you have, or positively expect to have within a time limit for the purchase. Never give away money that you cannot spare. Never give away that can be turned into money except you can spare it. The moment you are loaned money on interest to do anything, the person loaning you the money must be credited as being wise enough to know beforehand if more money can be made out of the thing or investment than only the interest. If it is so, it is likely that he himself will go into that business and not give you the chance to go into it with his money, but probably he may be a friend and want to help you. But few money lenders are friends. It is better to save and wait until you're able to go into the business on your own account before you take the risk. Always consider costs before you go into anything, and figuring out the cost, be sure that there's a margin of profit before you do anything. Otherwise, it is not worth doing. Always seek to get some profit, otherwise your work is a failure. Never live up to your income. Never live up to your income. Never live up to your income. Never assume responsibility when you are not prepared. It will burden you. Never marry broke. Never marry before you are ready. Never allow anybody to force you to do anything against your will. How beautiful Marcus Garvey was. You can see why he was starting all that trouble in those days. He said, don't lose your head in thinking that something is going to run away. Therefore, you must grab it now. You know how we are like, oh, let me get that right now. It's not going to be here when I come back.